Heading into the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs, could the Calgary Flames possibly make an upgrade at a goaltender position? They've had a phenomenal season, but lately things have not been the best in goal, and there are some NHL trade rumors suggesting they are taking a look at the goalie market to see what their options are. We'll take a look at who they might be targeting coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So the Calgary Flames are having a phenomenal season, likely heading into the playoffs as either the first or second place team in the Pacific Division. Certainly a little bit of a surprise team. I mean, I did figure the Flames would bounce back and have a better year than they did last year. Things did not end on a very solid note last year. However, the Calgary Flames have not had the best performance in that here as of late. Now, goaltender Mike Smith obviously basically lost his starting position to David Rittich. Rittich, for the most part, has been pretty solid this year and has earned himself a new nickname, Big Save Dave, who's come through many times for the Flames. But as of late, that performance has not been going overly strong, and there's a lot of rumblings that are going around the NHL Trade Rumor mill that the Flames might look to bring in another experienced goaltender to head into the playoffs to make sure they're well stabilized at that position. As we know, it's a very crucial position heading into the playoffs. And taking a look at the two goaltenders the Calgary Flames currently have on their roster, obviously the most likely one to go would be Mike Smith should they make a trade. He's 36. He's soon to be 37. He's a pending UFA. His cap hit for the Calgary Flames is a $4.25 million cap hit. Part of that salary was retained from the Arizona Coyotes when he was traded over to Calgary before. So his actual salary is a little bit more than that, but part of that has been retained by the Coyotes organization. So obviously Mike Smith also comes with a partial no trade clause. He has an 8-team no trade list, so that still leaves a lot of room and a lot of teams they can discuss with. So Mike Smith likely would be the odd man out if they were to make a move in that regard. Obviously, David Rittich's a little bit younger, 26 years old. He's a pending RFA. He's played more games than Smith. He's appeared in 34 games with a 2.6 goals against average and a .911 save percentage. So certainly pretty solid numbers overall, especially for a goaltender who has not been overly established, at least not as a number one. Coming into the season, there was a little bit of a question mark on who would be the Flames' backup. Last year, Mike Smith put in a great performance and was pretty solid. It was a team in front of them that kind of let things down and was the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. But this year, Mike Smith just has not been up to the task. So we'll see what happens here. But let's take a look at the goalie market. Some potential guys who could be on the move as a goaltender to see who the Flames might be targeting here. Now, obviously, first up, we got Columbus Blue Jackets star goalie Sergei Bobrovsky, who's a pending UFA, and we've discussed the fact that he's more than likely not signing with Columbus, and they have some tough decisions to make there if they're going to trade him or keep him for the playoff run that they're likely going to be able to go on themselves here. I mean, Columbus looks pretty solid to be a playoff team right now, but it's certainly by no means a guarantee. There's a lot of teams kind of fighting it out in that tough Metropolitan Division for those final few spots. So Sergei Bobrovsky certainly could be traded. However, he does carry a full no-move clause and a much bigger salary than either of the Flames goaltenders now. So for salary cap purposes and the complication of his no-trade clause, I really don't see the Flames being an option for Bobrovsky. There's been some rumblings as well that the Calgary Flames might look to fellow division rival the LA Kings and Jonathan Quick. I mean, he's a goaltender, has a ton of experience, has some Stanley Cup championships to his name, could certainly potentially solidify that position, him and Rittich, for the next few years. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's got 4 more years left on his contract, so he would come with term if the Kings decided to move him. The only problem there is with all that term and all that experience would come a fairly hefty price tag, and it's just hard to say what the Kings would want in return. Now, the LA Kings probably would be fine taking Smith for the rest of this season and not likely be interested in signing him beyond that, but it would be the other pieces that would have to be included with that deal to kind of make it work. I mean, LA has some other goaltenders in the mix here that could certainly take over for Jonathan Quick. From a salary cap perspective, though, it would also kind of depend on what else was traded out. I mean, he's earning $5.8 million. Like I said, he's got 4 years left. He's 33 now, so certainly had his fair share of some, fairly significant injuries. Not sure if he would be the answer, but with LA having a bad season near the bottom of the standings, there's certainly, a lot of rumors that they're looking to kind of go through a retool or a rebuild here, and they're certainly looking to shed some contracts, and then Jonathan Quick might be one of those guys. But then again, he might not be. There's no guarantee they do move him, but I do think the fact here that the Flames might be looking for an upgrade, that those two teams could certainly have trade talks, but it would certainly boil down to the price tag if that's something that the Flames could make happen. Another division rival over across the province in Edmonton, Cam Talbot's certainly well known to be available, but he also has a form of a modified no trade. But there have been discussions that he might be willing to waive just for a fresh start and a chance to be sent out of Edmonton for a chance to play somewhere else. But right now there's been a lot of trade talks linking Talbot to the Philadelphia Flyers. So it does appear as though that deal's relatively likely to happen. No guarantees as of right now, but all the NHL insiders are saying that basically it could happen anytime. Likely with Anthony Stolarz going back to the Oilers. So I'm not really sure that we have a deal here between the provincial rivals, but Talbot is a guy that likely does get moved, but I don't see him as being the answer for the Flames either. Of course, you get the New Jersey Devils goaltender Keith Kinkaid, who's 29 years old, a pending UFA. He's had a chance to be a starting guy with Corey Schneider having so many injuries and being out for a long period of time. But in my opinion, Keith Kinkaid really is better served as either in a 1A, 1B situation or as being a really solid backup goaltender. Obviously, they've had the emergence of Mackenzie Blackwood with the Devils organization. Corey Schneider's finally starting to return, getting back to some health here, and he's got a longer-term contract with some bigger money on it, so it very well might be more complicated for them to trade Corey Schneider, so it might be easier to go up with Blackwood and Schneider and move Kinkaid, because they very well might not be able to re-sign him during the offseason anyway. So since the New Jersey Devils are pretty much out of the playoffs, it does kind of make some sense that they might trade Kinkaid and try to recoup what they can for assets and go in a different direction starting next season. Then that leads us to the Detroit Red Wings goaltender Jimmy Howard, who's 34 years old and is also a pending UFA. His contract right now for this season pays him $5.2 million. Of course, Jimmy Howard comes with a ton of experience as well, not only regular season, but a lot of playoff games. Back when the Red Wings were making the playoffs year after year, he certainly had a lot of playoff games to his experience here and could be a very valuable piece to the Calgary Flames here moving down the stretch. There's also another connection that might lead Howard to be the guy should they decide to make this move, as he is connected to head coach Bill Peters of the Calgary Flames. Many of you likely recall that Bill Peters at one point was an assistant coach with the Detroit Red Wings before he got his first head coaching job in Carolina and then obviously over to Calgary. So there is a history there. He's very familiar with that goaltender. So it might be a case of him wanting to bring in somebody he's quite familiar with, as we've seen many of the other moves that the Flames have made since they hired Peters. Certainly bringing in a lot of guys that were connected from his days in Carolina as well. Howard is having a pretty solid season on a team that's not having a ton of success this year. After making the playoffs all those years, the Red Wings have now been out of the playoffs the past couple seasons. But really, overall, Jimmy Howard, I do think, has been relatively solid. And it very well could be a case. Maybe they swap Howard and Smith, maybe another asset going back to Detroit for the upgrade. And then maybe they run with Howard and Riddick for the rest of this season. They can certainly reevaluate things in the offseason going into next year to see how they proceed there. I'm not sure what Howard would want to do beyond that. But either way, just it would be a nice upgrade for them for this season, moving into the playoffs here alone. So of all these goaltenders that could be available on the goaltending market, should the Calgary Flames decide to make an upgrade in goal, which goaltender do you think would make the most sense, and what kind of trade proposal would you put together to try to bring them over to the Calgary Flames? Or do you think the Calgary Flames should look at a completely different direction here and focus on other areas of the team? But for me, heading into the playoffs, the biggest question mark with the Flames is in the net. So let me know what you think down below, and we will continue the conversation in the comment section. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans, so enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up before you go. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.